But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Being kind is the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise, and well, wow, what a fucking week it's been. Operation Septic Führer has been going just absolutely swimmingly for the U.S. That was a really great decision there. And we're gonna actually look at some ruling class media coverage of that crime against humanity, and coming up, I think there are a couple of interesting examples of the really bizarre situation that the propaganda system finds itself in. So, I mean, one of the things that was just kind of fascinating was this interview. I think probably everybody at this point has seen it. It's been going around for a few days between the Iranian foreign minister Arakchi and I don't know who. I didn't recognize him. Not somebody that sticks out in my mind. Some like U.S. newscaster who's like, Trump has said he doesn't rule out a ground invasion. What do you think of that? And Arakchi's like, we are waiting for them. And the guy is just absolutely fucking speechless because, like, our propagandists are being forced to actually consider, even briefly, thoughts that had never occurred to them. Like the possibility that somebody might just flatly say no to the U.S. I mean, it's really interesting when you think about it because the U.S. ruling class is obsessed with borders. They are obsessed with toughening up the borders, especially the southern border, of course. Not so much Canada, although to a lesser extent, yeah. Absolutely obsessed with it. There's a big fucking wall several hundred miles long. There's an inhospitable desert. You've got military, you got border patrol, you got fucking random Nazis in there, and they're like, oh, we have open borders. All this bullshit. They're really obsessed with borders. But they got a problem with boundaries. You kind of have to feel, because they're just not. Look at how they respond when they say no. Trump was like, first he says, that this war of aggression against Iran might last a month. And then he says that the only off-ramp is unconditional surrender from Iran. And it's like, in 4 weeks, like, what the fuck does he expect to achieve in 4 weeks? I mean, I'm asking for, like, an analysis of the mental processes of a man who doesn't really seem to have too many mental processes going on at any given time. But in 4 weeks, all they can just do is continue just massacring fucking random civilians, as they indeed have been doing when you get down to it. But at the same time, it's been 1 week, and the Gulf dictatorships are already complaining that they are almost out of interceptors. Israel is almost out of interceptors. You're getting all kinds of direct hits. The one senior person from the UAE was saying that Trump really ought to have actually consulted with the Gulf dictatorships before going off and doing this, since this obviously would make them a target. Because, like Iran said a year ago, after the last time the U.S. and Israel did a war of aggression against them, that this is exactly what was going to happen. They listed a whole bunch of things that were going to happen the next time, and they've done all of them. And meanwhile, like, several of the Gulf states are saying they're getting attacked by, and they're saying that it is not actually Iran doing some of the attacks, which is really interesting. I mean, Iran has also said that some of these attacks aren't theirs, because some of them seem like strategically designed to drive wedges between Iran and some of the parties in the region that they have better relations with. But the fact that, like, the Gulf states are also saying this really does kind of indicate that they would really like to see this thing wrapped up, and probably not wait until Trump or his handlers realize that unconditional surrender is not actually on the cards. But in the meantime, it is also just resulted in some really bizarre moments in the dominant media, and one of them, this is an interview. It's like it's the rounds as well. One clip from it. I'm curious to look at more of it. This is with a guy by the name of Will Cain over on Fox News, with a retired General Jack Cain, who I'm not actually familiar with, but anyway, it did not go well. And because Will Cain was actually forced to, like, do a bit of journalism, and he was working at Fox News. They assure you when you start at Fox News that you will never have to do journalism. It's like one of their guarantees. But here we go. And one thing to note is this figure of 6 U.S. service members killed is looking like bullshit. For one thing, Iran says they're estimating 500, which that could be true, it could be not. But also there was an ad that briefly appeared on some platforms for Dover Air Force Base urgently looking for what they call effects specialists, which is like people who go through the personal effects of soldiers who come back dead. Because Dover Air Force Base is where they go. And that was very quickly deleted, but it doesn't sound like 6. Anyway, so let's watch Will Cain squirm for his life. It is really remarkable.
This is Fox News senior strategic analyst and retired 4-star General Jack Cain. General, thanks for being with us here today.
Man, he looks like an Edvard Munch painting. Okay, so this guy is actually a Fox News analyst already.
This conversation, General, about objectives and goals, it has moved a bit. I do feel like over the weekend it was
a bit, yeah. I mean, like, there wasn't one. They said regime change, then they said maybe not regime change, because they realized, like, how the fuck are they going to do that? And then now it's unconditional surrender, which, again, seems extremely unlikely to happen. I think you'd be more likely to see, actually, like, the regime in Bahrain overthrown, where there has been something of a low-key uprising in support, it's worth noting, of Iran, or at the very least in opposition to the presence of U.S. bases and the presence of and the U.S. aggression against Iran. Then you would be to see any kind of unconditional surrender from Iran.
A little bit more conversation about regime change. We just heard from the Secretary of State that the objective is to degrade and destroy their ballistic missile capability.
Yeah, so that's working a treat as well.
I think I want to ask this.
I mean, it seems like if the idea is to degrade their ballistic missile capability by just letting them shoot them all off, I mean, that seems well on the way.
Question of you. What does victory look like? When would the United States say mission accomplished?
Well, I'm pretty familiar with what the plan is. It's very...
Oh, wow. Somebody's familiar with what the plan is. It isn't really, other than just massacring a lot of civilians, it doesn't really seem like there is one.
comprehensive. It will take, weeks to execute.
Weeks. Like, I mean, they're talking about this like it's fucking Iraq. A country that in 2003 was so completely defenseless that the actual initial invasion was hardly even resisted because they just weren't in a position to do it. All of the casualties that the U.S. and the other occupation forces took were from the occupation. The initial invasion was, I mean, they just walked in because Iraq had been basically totally disarmed. Rubio says whoever governs Iran won't have missiles. Jesus. Like, who do they think is believing this shit?
Time frame can move faster because these are condition based, and what we're achieving is...
They're condition based, in other words. They're probably not going to happen.
There's nothing short of remarkable if you want to get into some of the specifics of what's really been accomplished here.
No, I mean, one remarkable thing that has been accomplished here, I mean, apart from like bombing the fucking elementary school of girls, that was remarkable. I mean, and people have remarked on it. It was accomplished, I guess. There was an Iranian naval vessel coming back from international military exercises hosted by India. And the U.S. had also initially were going to be participating in it. They backed out at the last minute. But one of the known published conditions of participation in these exercises was that all the vessels that any country sent to participate had to be completely unarmed. And so the U.S. sank the Iranian naval vessel Dana, which was totally unarmed. That's like, from a technical military standpoint, like sinking a fucking cruise ship. And actually, legally speaking, there is a word for this. It's called hors de combat, out of combat, and you're not allowed to actually target somebody, even if they're military, if they are out of combat. And an unarmed naval vessel is as out of combat as a naval vessel can be. So that was an accomplishment that could be remarked on, and they like fucking bragged about it. They were very impressed with themselves that they that they sank an unarmed naval vessel returning from international exercises.
But I think the objectives are pretty clear. Secretary just laid it out. The president has laid it out, and the Secretary of State has laid it out.
Okay, so they're clear. What are they?
I'd be more than happy to repeat it.
Go ahead.
But the objective...
It would be interesting to hear it, actually.
To prevent this regime from having the capability to continue to attack us.
Continue to attack you. Continue, like, they weren't actually attacking in the first place, though. In fact, they wouldn't be attacking now if you hadn't attacked them, actually. Continue to attack us, like...
And we don't retaliate. I mean,
right. You don't retaliate against them not doing anything.
This has been one of the most dismal failures in American history not dealing with the Iranian regime. In 1983, when Reagan was president, they dropped 2 embassies and a Marine barracks, over 300 dead.
No, that was Hezbollah, actually, defending Lebanon from foreign occupation. U.S. and Israel were occupying them. That wasn't Iran. That was Hezbollah, a mass political party with a paramilitary wing, as a lot of political parties in that region and other places too, like Ireland, have. But this is a trick you see a lot in like mainstream discourse, what he's doing here. And it's not a new thing. It is not an Iran specific thing. Like, if you go back to like the so-called Cold War, every government the U.S. decided to attack was the Soviet Union, actually. Like, they were secretly the Soviet Union. Now, even if they were like explicitly anti-communist, if they had nothing to do with the Soviet Union, they were still the Soviet Union. Because They had otherwise they're just attacking. They would just be attacking. Carrying out unprovoked attacks on governments that people elected that the U.S. government doesn't like, and the optics of that aren't great. So everything the U.S. doesn't like in the region is Iran.
No retaliation against Iran. In '96,
the U.S. did shoot down an Iranian passenger liner.
Towers, 19 dead, 400 wounded. Clinton is president, no retaliation.
That also wasn't Iran.
Against Iran.
No, actually the Clinton response, if I remember correctly, was to destroy 50% of the pharmaceuticals production in Sudan, killing over 10,000 people in one shot.
In 2005 to 2008 in Iraq, they used an advanced penetrator exclusively targeted against American soldiers.
So they were helping Iraq defend itself from U.S. attack.
Riding in vehicles. The
vehicles in question are called tanks. He doesn't want to say tanks because it becomes a little bit harder to make them into the poor victims. But what is true is the penetrators you're talking about, they're called EFPs, explosively formed penetrators. And if you listen to people who were in the U.S. occupation of Iraq, especially if they were in armor, they describe it's the scariest shit that there was for them in Iraq. And the resistance in Gaza has been making excellent use of a very similar device against Israeli Merkava tanks. But yeah, so we still haven't heard the U.S. be attacked by Iran, except in the context of the U.S. invading Iran's neighbor. And he leaves out the bit where the U.S. had Saddam Hussein attack Iran with chemical weapons that the U.S. helpfully supplied, and West Germany as well at the time helpfully supplied.
The official count is 600 dead. The last commander we had there, General Lloyd Austin, said closer to 2,000, Jack. Is probably what happened there.
Right.
No retaliation. Bush is the president. Biden...
there was retaliation against the Iraqi civilian population who were supporting the resistance.
Is president. Prior to October the 7th, they attack us 125 times.
Wait, 125 Wait, where the fuck did he get that? Even though the 5 examples he just came up with are bullshit, he hasn't come up with a single legit example of the thing that he's saying, because Iran has never attacked the U.S. except in response to U.S. aggression against Iran.
Inside of Iraq and Syria.
Oh, so they were attacking U.S. forces who were attacking Iraq and Syria. That's... wow. Well, maybe... here's an idea. You shouldn't have been attacking Iraq and Syria, and those countries had every right to defend themselves against you.
No retaliation against Iran. After October the 7th, 125 times we are attacked in Iraq and Syria.
Were you doing anything at the time, I wonder?
No retaliation against Iran.
Well, yes, because you were attacked by Iraq and Syria. And you were occupying those countries, so they have a right to do that.
This is finally ending.
Really? That's what you call this?
We have a president who's taken responsibilities. There were 7 presidents before him. 4 of them didn't react to significant provocation.
Right.
Why? I have no idea.
He's also just leaving out the systematic economic strangulation of the country, which has been extremely deadly. Oh, and the time that they are elected sort of a moderate nationalist prime minister called Mossadegh, who decided that Iran should own Iran's own oil. And so the US and Britain got together and imposed a puppet regime on the place that had the worst human rights record in modern Iranian history.
Yeah.
General,
but this president is not going to let this happen again.
No. And what I love is that apparently they didn't give him the script.
So that is the mission here. It's pretty clear.
Here we go. Here comes the groveling. This is the part that got clipped in all sorts of places.
Sure.
Well, it's not 100% clear to me, General, and that's not to suggest that I don't support 100%.
Yeah, he literally did not answer the question.
What is happening, nor that I 100% offer my support. I just think I want to ask a couple of critical questions, and I hope
for the first time in his fucking career.
Hope you know how much respect I have for your service, and I think
I say this to you, General, and I hope you understand, General, that I'm saying this with your balls halfway down my gullet, like absolutely sloppy style. But I gotta ask these questions. Somebody's told me I have to acknowledge reality for a minute, and this is a scary place for me, and I bet for you too, General.
I think it goes without saying to anybody watching how much respect I have for the men making this decision.
You don't have to patronize me. Just
even he's sick of it.
That's the question. Go ahead. Come on, ask it.
It's as if they did not brief him on what this was going to be about. That's so wild, because apparently this Will Cain dickhead, he knew what this was going to be about, because he started out by asking what's the point of all this, what is the objective, and he never got an answer. And normally, it being Fox News, he would be content to just let this asshole drone on for just decades, if possible, as he just continues to further desiccate. But apparently somebody's told him he does have to get a real answer. And nobody told fucking Cain, apparently, that he was going to be expected to provide an answer. And so we get this moment.
To be clear, General, I'm not patronizing you. I'm trying to have a very...
I'm sucking up to you. It's different.
Serious conversation in front of the American people.
And I've never done that before, so it's really kind of scaring me.
The men making these decisions have my utmost respect. This is less about you than everybody making these decisions. And
you made it about him, though, by deciding to suck up to him, as opposed to, he's here supposedly as an analyst. All he's actually done is just give sort of a press release, which is, of course, what he's there to do, let's be honest. These analysts who are ex-generals just give government press releases. You basically never see anything different coming out. And we're looking at Fox News, but I mean, seeing retired generals who are supposed analysts and often also consultants for the arms industry getting sucked up to and lobs fucking softball questions is kind of a universal in this country.
This is about the American people understanding the investment that lies before them. Do we understand the objectives? We've seen the price in the past of having unclear objectives. And maybe you do, and maybe the Secretary of War does, but I think the American people also need to understand.
I love how he's having to provide explanation for why he's at... he couldn't just say, "You haven't answered my question, retired general. I asked what the objective is, and you launched into a gish gallop of bullshit." Instead, he has to explain why it's important to get an answer to his fucking question. They did not coordinate this, I think.
And when you lay out the way that Iran has behaved towards the United States is a justification, but it's a justification for regime change. And I just heard something different from the Secretary of State. The reason I think this is a point of clarification...
Well, was he sober?
...that I need, or I think that a lot of the American people need, is because degrading their missile capability requires a different investment than regime change. So what I want to be clear about is...
if anything, this is more patronizing because he assumes that fucking Cain is incapable of comprehending a question about what the objective is. This is like you sit here. I have to explain to you why it matters to talk about what the objectives are.
What level investment are we looking at here?
I thought it's pretty clear. I mean, what we're trying to do is take down what sustains this regime and keeps it be able to function. That is their governance system with leadership, the IRGC, the Basel militia, and the police that are repressing the people. And
why don't you try that with the police that are repressing the people here, though?
Strip away.
I mean, it's neat to hear Fox News opposing police repression. You don't hear that every day.
All of that capability.
I mean, whatever happened to the thin blue line, Jack?
Talking about is U.S. and Israeli objectives here, because this is a combined operation. That is critical to success here. And then it becomes, what are we doing about their capabilities to attack us?
I mean, and what he means, of course, is their capabilities to defend themselves.
And that has been pretty clear. We're going to strip away all of that.
By one fucking hospital and elementary school at a time.
Well, we're going to take down the ballistic missile systems, the drones
The ballistic missile systems are way underground, it's worth noting.
And whatever they made the decision to recover their nuclear weapons.
No, they didn't. Recover their nuclear weapons. They never had them. In fact, they allegedly may have had a program to develop some up until 2003, according to the U.S. intelligence community, their national intelligence estimate, but they never had nuclear weapons. But yeah, I mean, they just killed one of the most important opponents to Iran ever getting nuclear weapons in Khamenei. I mean, he wrote the literal fatwa that says that Iran will never have them. And there's no guarantee that his successor, in the midst of this shit, is going to agree with him on that.
But they haven't done much about it. And whatever that not done much about it is, we're going to take that down as well. So we're going to have a regime.
They haven't done much about it, which is another way of saying they don't even have a nuclear weapons program.
Is going to be challenged to govern. It's stripped away its leadership capability to do it. The infrastructure that supports and sustaining that on the governance side as well as on the military and police side, and people that are repressing the people, and then take down all the weapons. That is
how are they, and exactly how many bases do they plan on losing in order to do this? I mean, the thing is, this guy is still talking like it's Iraq. It's still talking like this is a defenseless country that the U.S. is trying to invade. It's not. It's very clearly not.
It is very clear. And then when you bring in the Israelis, they are attempting to set conditions to put this regime on a pathway for its collapse. And not.
I mean, which regime? I mean, it looks like they're kind of putting their own regime on a pathway to collapse. I actually rate the chances of seeing Israel's military infrastructure wrecked way higher at this point than Iran's, because Israel is tiny. Israel has no strategic depth. It's all located in a fairly small area. Like, Iran is a fucking huge country. And and unlike any place that the U.S. or Israel have flown in since, like, Vietnam, they have air defenses. And those air defenses, they're not perfect. They're not completely up to the task of dealing with, like, the planes, but they're certainly taking down a fair number of the drones.
Saying they're going to force its collapse. They're saying they're setting the conditions for its collapse.
In other words, they also don't think that this is going to work. They're just fucking murdering civilians.
I think those objectives are pretty clear in terms of what we're trying to do here.
And to be clear, the way you describe that, then...
I mean, and it's interesting. They like show all these attacks on residential areas in Tehran. They're very careful. You know, It's interesting because they're trying to make this case that Iran has been the U.S. has been so hard done by Iran, and so, but they don't want to show their viewers what Iran is doing right now because it might lead them to think that maybe this isn't a great investment and maybe it was actually a colossally shitty idea, because there's a good chance the U.S. will end up having to do a humiliating climb down.
And that does not require boots on the ground.
You really?
I don't believe it does. I don't think there's any intention to do that.
I mean, well, yeah, because it's generally understood that that would be an absolutely disastrous idea.
Think we do have...
I'm not even talking about like the war crimes that those boots on the ground would commit against people in Iran. I'm talking about the kind of casualties they would take even trying to bring people into the country in any particular troop strike.
Some contingencies, and this would be normal if we needed to conduct an operation to take a target out that is not conducive to being used by ballistic missiles or cruise missiles.
And to take a target out that is not conducive to being used by ballistic missile, like this sentence, I feel like this sentence may have been hit by a Shahid drone, and is just sort of falling apart now.
Or air power itself, then we may do a raid type operation to take that target down. But in terms of the traditional way of using boots on the ground, no. And by the way, General Petraeus and I are very good friends, and I have enormous respect for him here. But let's face the facts, that even when
so now he's doing a bit of upsucking.
We make up our minds to conduct a decisive change in power and change the political order in a country, referred to as regime change, like we did with Noriega in Panama in '89.
Which that really wasn't, strictly speaking, regime change. But the system stayed in place. It was just the U.S. manipulated an election under military occupation to ensure that after they took a previous U.S. puppet who had fallen out of favor out, they had another U.S. puppet in. Oh, hello, Louisa Ruth. How you doing? Good to see you.
And also...
and I guess have a good night, since you say it's bedtime.
With Haiti in '94, and...
did he just admit... I have never actually heard any current or former U.S. official admit that what the U.S. pulled against the Aristide government, which the U.S. hated and still hates, was regime change.
Obviously, Afghanistan in '01 and Iraq in '03. Other than
Afghanistan is a great example of how, of regime change, because it's a totally different Taliban that's in charge of Afghanistan now.
Haiti, we struggle with dealing with what replaces it. Even though we had boots on the ground, even though we were facilitating the change in political order,
facilitating the change in political order. That is great. That is what. See, this is the stuff they teach you when you go to take the general staff course, I guess, to find ways to avoid just saying overthrowing the government and putting in a puppet.
Was that new political order in all of those cases we struggle with, because these things are ambiguous, and we can't control all of that, and that's the reality of it. I know we want to put a bow on this and wrap it up and make it nice and neat, but it isn't like that. When you were going to take that regime and put it on a pathway for its eventual collapse. And
which regime, though? The only regime that seems to be on an actual pathway towards its eventual collapse at the moment, Israel definitely is just moving in that direction, and I think they know it, which is why they have just been so frenzied recently. And I think the U.S. is very clearly on that kind of a pathway. And what do you know? The U.S. is also just doing all sorts of frenzied shippies. In addition to a war of aggression against Iran, they've decided to do a war of aggression against Ecuador. which they claim, they say they're supporting Novoa against narco-terrorists. But the thing is, Novoa is one of the biggest narcos in fucking South America. And he's a U.S. puppet dictator. So, yeah, I mean, what this is about is the people in Ecuador had a referendum, because Novoa still feels the need to at least pretend he cares about the Constitution. And the Constitution says no foreign bases. So they had to have a constitutional amendment referendum in order to change that, and it got overwhelmingly rejected. And so now the U.S. is just doing a war against the Ecuadorian people.
Follows after that is not particularly clear. And I think that's okay.
En algún momento, hay que decirlo, en algún momento hay que decir hasta cuándo, weón. Hasta cuándo ya de estar tolerando todo esto. Porque está bueno de que Petro y todos estos hueones digan todas esas cosas de que, bueno, es inaceptable, vamos a hacer valer nuestra opinión en el foro diplomático, esa weá. Pero al final, si siguen apaciguando a estos hueones, esto va a terminar muy mal.
And we can't try to play games with it and try to make it clear, and we've done that in the past, and we're not doing that here.
Well, I appreciate that. I 100% appreciate that, and I think it also, though, puts it incumbent upon the ability to ask and answer these questions.
Which he really still, actually did eventually kind of answer the question, but it took a while.
I appreciate you spending some time with me today to address some of these questions.
I don't think he appreciated it, actually. And again, I still feel like maybe nobody told him what this was going to be about, because he did not act like he was expecting to explain what the objective was.
Thank you, General.
Yeah, I'm sorry I barked at you.
No, you never have to apologize for barking at a Fox News host. That's what they're there for. They are there to take our aggression on.
It's all right, General. I think for the General and everybody else watching, I think these are times when questions are critical. I think the General has the utmost capability of answering those questions.
And now he's like, man, you realize there's such a thing as a latent period, Will. You can't just start doing this again. Especially at a man his age. You gotta wait a few minutes anyway. He's probably good for a week, actually, after that. After that fucking glazing you gave him a minute ago. He's capable of answering. He's really good at answering questions. Our General Cain, he could do the questions. He's really, really good at questions.
As do many of the people making these decisions, but...
Yeah, you could tell.
These questions can and should be asked on something no less than the prospect of war.
The prospect of war? This is the prospect, is it? I would. Then what's the reality of it if this is just the fucking prospect? Wow. And now another jabroni that I have not subjected viewers of this stream to, because for the most part I try to spare your delicate sensibilities, these sorts of things. But Rachel Maddow managed to have a really bizarre take that I think is worth unpacking and looking at, because she seems to think that the people who are benefiting from this are the U.S. puppet states in the Gulf, the ones who are actually increasingly saying, please stop this shit because it's destabilizing us. But, okay. Here we go. Rachel Maddow, a drone liberal.
Good afternoon.
Who never met a U.S. human rights violation, at least under a Democratic president, that she didn't support. And
I'm Rachel Maddow. It is 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and you are joining MS Now's...
for people at home, it no longer is... I just want to give you an update. It no longer is 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The time is changing tonight, apparently, but not that much.
Ongoing coverage of the United States having apparently started a war with Iran for some reason.
I mean, see, and you don't get to say for some reason. Like, she is very much a fucking mouthpiece of the DNC. She has been all a fucking long. And the DNC, we looked at it last week. I pulled up the 2024 platform where they actually accused Trump of not being belligerent enough against Iran. I mean, the U.S. has been threatening Iran in various ways, and it's been escalating for 47 years now, practically. And that has been really escalating since the U.S. invaded Iraq. So, like, for some reason, I mean, it's very clear for what reason. The U.S. has been building up to this for ages, because the U.S. does not like that there is one independent country in the region.
Your guess, your personal guess, sitting at home watching me right now, your personal guess is as good as any as to why the President of the United States has just started this war.
I mean, when you consider that there's been an economic blockade for years now, it's not so much starting the war. The war already started. The U.S. started the war years ago. This is a new phase of the U.S. war against Iran that this asshole has started.
In terms of pure rational deduction about what he is doing here, we can basically
I think it's fairly clear, though, actually. I mean, it's not entirely clear whether anyone in the White House actually seriously considered that they might be massively underestimating the capabilities of their adversary. But I mean, it's pretty clear what they are doing and why they're doing it, because the U.S. does not like having an independent country in the Middle East. They would like it to be an all-puppet region.
The reasons he has said he's doing it? Is Iran on the precipice of having ballistic missiles that can...
I mean, no, they already have them.
Can reach the United States?
I mean, not that can reach the U.S. In fact, they actually, in what struck me as kind of an ill-advised statement, one of their, it might have been Arakchi, the foreign minister, but I'm not sure at the moment. But he was in an interview with some U.S. news outlet and actually said that they were never going to develop long enough range missiles to actually hit the U.S. They said they actually more or less committed not to do that. That seems kind of ill-advised to me, especially given this current situation. I personally would say all bets are off, but that's what they said. And they have not really been bluffing for the most part, so I think I attach some weight to what they said.
Absolutely not. The United States is very far from Iran. One might even say it's a whole continent away.
Well, yeah, except until you consider that the U.S. has encircled Iran with bases, and those bases are right up Iran's ass.
Which means a ballistic missile launched from Iran to hit us here would have to be an intercontinental ballistic missile. Does Iran have ICBMs? Does Iran have intercontinental ballistic missiles? No, it does not. And there was
I mean, she's absolutely right there. They don't. I think I've seen their maximum range is 200 kilometers, which is almost to the middle of the Mediterranean, which is enough to make the U.S. reconsider whether having bases in the region is worth it if they're going to start shit like this.
No known evidence or even serious allegation that Iran is anywhere near developing that technology anytime soon. Even Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has recently admitting that the threat is only that maybe, quote, one day Iran might have that kind of capability.
Which is, this is really interesting, actually. Because for quite a while, for basically this entire century, we've been hearing that Iran is like 5 minutes away from developing a nuclear weapon that could hit the U.S. And now all of a sudden when the U.S. is attacking, they're like, oh yeah, they probably don't have anything like that. I mean, I guess that's a pretty I guess at this point it's okay to admit that, because now it's reassuring, because if they did have that, this would be the kind of situation where they might use it.
Ability one day, just like you or I might one day learn to fly or to time travel.
I mean, I think it's probably more theoretically possible than either of those things, but okay.
Is Iran a week away from industrial grade uranium enrichment, as the president's diminutive real estate friend Steve Witkoff asserted this week? When
and what does that mean, as opposed to what, artisanal grade? Like, this is, like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Was asked about the Iran talks he is inexplicably part of on behalf of the United States government and the people of the United States, despite his only relevant experience and training being that he is an old real estate friend of President Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, there was also the time that he gave the Palestinian resistance assurances that the siege would be lifted and people would be allowed to get food again if they released Idan Alexander, a U.S.-Israeli dual citizen POW. And then he and his son actually fucking yucked it up afterwards about how they bought it because that was all bullshit. Which is, I mean, so, like, I mean, he is absolutely fucking qualified to burn in hell, I suppose.
Is Iran, as Steve Witkoff says, a week away from achieving industrial...
And how the fuck would he know, anyway?
Grade uranium enrichment for their nuclear program?
I mean, it's interesting that that's the language they're using, because it's been nuclear weapons for, like, again, for over 20 years now. For 20 years, they've been, like, a week away from nuclear weapons. And now it's industrial grade uranium enrichment. Well, they have a nuclear program. Everyone knows that. They're using it for power and for medical applications, peaceful nuclear power applications that they are allowed to as signatories to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. But, I mean, it's interesting. That is actually, and if she were serious at all, she would point this out. This is actually kind of a serious walk back. Because this is not saying, that's not even saying a nuclear weapon anymore. He's saying just uranium enrichment. Well, there's lots of reasons you might do that.
No, they are not. No, they are not. Not only has there been no American or international evidence or intelligence made public...
Wait, holy shit. I mean, this is what it's taken for any media outlet to fact-check these claims. Wall Street Journal, White House says Iran is close to weapons-grade nuclear material. Experts say no. Like, they've been claiming this literally. I mean, there's footage of Netanyahu saying it in the 1990s. And certainly Bush and the various Israeli PMs and Obama and fucking Trump and Biden, and they all claimed that this was immediately going to happen. And, like, actually the only thing that was stopping them was the starvation sanctions and all this bullshit. I mean, so it's interesting to see this suddenly being fact-checked.
That suggests even that they are doing that, but even the...
I mean, I'm half tempted to just do a search for what she was saying about this subject last year, for example, this time. Or any time since she's been on television and talking about this particular subject. Because it is taken as, like, some sort of conventional wisdom that until now, apparently, that Iran had a nuclear weapons program, which, according to the U.S. intelligence community and the Iranian government, they do not. And that it's developing nuclear weapons and is very close to developing them, which, again, since they don't have the program, obviously they're fucking not. But if she was pushing back on that, I feel like I would have heard about it. Hey, Riveroon, how you doing? Like, if Rachel, I would remember that too, because that would instantly improve her, like, standing, in my opinion, if she had ever pushed back on that. And I feel like that would have been so remarkable, considering that she usually sells whatever propaganda the U.S. needs to support whatever war the U.S. is doing, it would have been remarkable for her to say such a thing, and it would have gotten a lot of coverage. So I feel fairly confident saying that this is not what she's been saying.
The Trump administration says explicitly that that is not happening. Marco Rubio on Wednesday at a press conference in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well, a wonderful money laundering destination that he happened to be in. And old Marco Rubio.
Told reporters, quote, they are not enriching right now.
Yeah, let's see, Nevis, it's not Nevis, it's Nevis, has some of the tightest banking secrecy rules in the world. And you can form a company there, and a lot of dodgy rich people do, that with nominee directors, and it is literally illegal under the laws of Nevis to reveal who the what's called the real party in interest, the actual beneficial owner of the company is. And you can do that, and you can hide assets really, really easily in Nevis. That is one of the main reasons that St. Kitts and Nevis is a destination for anybody. I mean, it's I'm sure it's a beautiful island, archipelago as well, but yeah, very cool that you could make it. It's always nice to see Louisa. I always love to see people who don't make it that often. When they do make it, it's always nice to see. But I wonder what was Marco Rubio doing there?
So why is this happening? Have we just started a war with Iran because they have got some advanced nuclear program that's rushing toward a bomb?
Which, I mean, again, was the I mean, it's wild. This is absolute. I have to say, this is just shocking. It is the level of just gaslighting here. Because where the hell was this skepticism over the past 20 years?
Ask President Donald Trump, who insists that the last time he ordered the bombing of Iran in June, that, quote, totally obliterated their nuclear program.
Oh, yeah. YouTube, there was a video by Bridget Empire, who, if you're not following her, follow her. She does good video. Talking about how small creators have been screwed by some sort of algorithm shift that's happened. And I just noticed that my microphone is really not where it should be when I'm broadcasting. So if I'm sounding clearer than I was a second ago, that's why I just moved my mic. But there was some sort of update to the algorithm, and it has actually really stalled out a lot of sort of smaller and mid-sized creators.
It's hard to say that anything totally obliterated, gone, pulverized, erased from the earth might...
Well, I mean, which was obviously a lie, because the bombs that he did it with are not capable of that. The facility was too deep. And you would have to spend a lot more time pounding those areas in order to do it. And aside from that, Iran had plenty of warning, so obviously anything important they would have moved anyway.
Now suddenly be back again, and so therefore a war must urgently start today.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's just remember, there's absolutely no reason to believe his claim that those facilities were in fact obliterated. Because again, they are miles under, I mean, not literally miles, but they're way underground. They're deeper than the range of the bombs that were used to attack them.
So what are we doing here? It's not that they're about to get us with intercontinental ballistic missiles.
I mean...
It's not that they are enriching uranium to such a degree that it is dangerous and we must stop that.
I mean, again, I don't want to. I feel like I would end up derailing this if I was going to do that. Do a search for this, and then I probably, if I had, and maybe I'll do this tomorrow. Actually, now that I've actually watched this, because I often don't watch these things in advance, because I kind of want to have a raw reaction to them. But, I mean, it would be interesting because I'm pretty sure she has not expressed this level of skepticism about official U.S. claims about supposed Iranian nuclear weapons before.
It's not that their nuclear program, which Trump says he obliterated, has somehow unobliterated itself.
Oh, well, because it never was obliterated. Like, wait, this is the one thing this is wild. Oh, I see. The idea here is, if she admits that they never had the program, as the U.S. intelligence community says, as the Iranian government says, as Khamenei's own fatwa on the subject of nuclear weapons and how they are barbaric and un-Islamic says, then that's an admission that she and basically the entire U.S. media has been lying their asses off for about 20 years. So she decides to credit one obviously false thing that Trump said, namely that bombs that were not capable of reaching the depths where these facilities were successfully destroyed them. Iran immediately said that that did not happen. Plenty of analysts pointed out that the depth was not consistent. And of course, Iran actually said they did not experience any serious damage to anything important. They'd moved at all. So the only reason I can see that she's crediting this obviously false thing that Trump said, while doubting other obviously false things that he said, is that it's the only way to make this work where she isn't admitting to just lying to people.
It's now a pressing danger again. Why did we just go to war with Iran?
Oh, well, in support of the genocide in Palestine.
The president has said a couple of times in recent days that he just wants the Iranian government to say the words that they are not pursuing a nuclear bomb.
I mean, they've said those words. They've even got a literal fucking fatwa. They've literally, I mean, the Islamic Republic has a literal Islamic legal opinion saying that fucking nuclear weapons are haram. That they are Muslim treif. That they've said the fucking word. They've said it 1,000,000 times. Like, this is a great way to make them reconsider saying the word so many times, though.
Saying that if they would just say that, that would be enough to stop the United States from starting a war with them. Well, the Iranian government, actually, over and over again, keeps saying.
Yeah, they've been saying it all along, and the U.S. intelligence community, it's worth noting, agrees with them.
They are not developing a nuclear bomb. They will say it whenever you like. They say it whenever they are asked. So that does not appear to be the reason either.
Well, I mean, I will say, despite all the things that I'm saying, I definitely, she is right that can't possibly be the reason. I mean, because it would make no sense. And the fact is, if Iran had a nuclear weapon, there's no way the U.S. would be doing this right now. Like, North Korea doesn't have to put up with this shit. They have to put up with a lot of provocations and threats, but not this shit. Because they've made it very clear that they do have a nuclear capability, that they are consistently and constantly developing it and expanding it, that they have long-range missiles, and that if anyone decides to try it on, fucking U.S. bases in Okinawa and, Honolulu will get it, basically. Which is why the U.S. doesn't, they impose an economic blockade and they do all sorts of provocative shit, but they're not invading because nobody wants to be the one to find out that's not a bluff.
So why do you think President Donald Trump has just done this? Why do you think he has just started a war with Iran?
Well, I mean, maybe let's not pretend that this is, I mean, one of the wild things about this, and this is part of how the propaganda system works. The propaganda system depends on short memories. We are supposed, they want an audience that preferably has no object permanence. Because she's acting like this is some random out of the blue thing. When the U.S. has been threatening Iran since 1979. Basically, as long as I've been alive on this planet, the U.S. has been threatening Iran. The U.S. had a proxy war against Iran, using Saddam Hussein as the proxy in the late 80s. And in that context, chemical weapons were used against Iran. This is part of the inspiration for the fatwa not to have nuclear weapons. You know, and all this time there's been this constant drumbeat of, like, scaremongering around Iran. Like, I mean, for my entire life, we've been supposed to think that, like, you know, first Khomeini and now Khamenei, and why did they have to have such similar names? Everybody who bothers to try to pronounce their names correctly stumbles over the fact that Khamenei has almost the same surname as Khomeini, but just not quite. But yeah, like, literally since 1979, and I've been on this planet since 1979, so literally as long as my entire life, there's been scaremongering and threats against Iran. So, like, to act like this is out of the blue, I mean, you can say a lot about this. I have. Lots of other people have. But this isn't like the US decided to just randomly attack Nepal. The US has been working up to this aggression for a long time, and that has been a bipartisan effort.
Is it because his heart bleeds empathetically on a human level?
I mean, I would just like it to do so on a physiological level, actually. I mean, a little pericardial tamponade that goes undetected.
For the protesters in Iran who have been killed by their own government in...
yeah, right. Like, I'm sure the U.S. really gives a shit about that. I'm sure Trump gives a shit about that. Yeah, I mean, he does... I'm actually quite sure that does piss him off, because he sees protesters, and it's like, killing protesters is my fucking job.
Such huge numbers in January and February of this year. Is it because Donald Trump really feels for the Iranian people? Is it because his...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you feel for the Iranian people, what you do is you bomb them.
Heart throbs with a passionate support...
Don't use the word throb in the context of Donald Trump. I will thank you not to do that. That nothing good comes of that association, Rachel.
For the right of free speech.
Even if you say it's his heart doing the throbbing, I don't want to hear anything about anything belonging to Donald Trump throbbing.
And the right of people everywhere to protest against...
Unless it's an aneurysm.
...their own government and not face violence because of it. Is that what you think? If so, good morning. I hope you have slept well for this past decade in which you've been dead to the world.
Wait. I literally have to go back because I don't even understand. What would we have missed by being dead to the world for a decade? Oh, she was talking about, obviously Trump doesn't give a fuck about Iranian civilians, and of course Trump doesn't give a fuck about Iranian civilians. Like, that isn't like a special Trump thing, though. Oh yeah, absolutely. I second what Riveroon just said, and thank you for being the one to say it. It's always lovely to have you in chat, Riveroon, because, like, if there's something that somebody says that absolutely should not be allowed to just sort of hang in the ether, for whatever reason, I know that you're on it, and really, so I second what Riveroon just said, Louisa. And I don't know if you're in the Discord. But if you're not in the Discord and you would like to be in the Discord, I can get you into the Discord, because it's my fucking Discord and I can get anyone into it. Yeah, there's the link. And you can find all of us there.
Because his heart throbs with a passionate support.
Oh God, more fucking throbbing.
Of free speech and the right of people everywhere to protest against their own government and not face violence because of it.
Like, okay, is that a sound effect she put in, or Is there some sort of weird shit going? Is that some sort of a glitch?
Is that what you think? If so, good morning. I hope you have slept well for this past decade in which you've been dead to the world. But
also, another example of how we're supposed to have short memories is just the whole way this is supposed to be a Trump thing. Like, she's not going to bring up what the DNC's platform said in 2024. I mean, that's a long time ago, after all. That's 2024. That's like more than last year, for fuck's sake. But we looked at it last week. I put it up on screen and everything. Like, and it was very specifically saying, criticizing Trump for not being warlike enough against Iran. So acting like this is coming out of nowhere. Come on, come the fuck on.
just suspend disbelief for a moment.
If you're watching Rachel Maddow, you're suspending disbelief for way longer than that, because otherwise you'll get the aneurysm.
Suppose that the reason the United States of America has just started this war with Iran is because, as the president said today in his weird pre-recorded video message in a baseball hat and a suit jacket, that the White House released it.
That is kind of what he wears most of the time. I guess he's feeling self-conscious about his hair, so he's decided that he's going to wear an ugly-ass hat instead.
In the morning, the president said in that stilted, strange statement, squinting at the camera with his eyes shaded by the gigantic white hat he was wearing, he said that he's doing this because he wants the people of Iran to rise up and overthrow their despotic government.
I mean, like, this isn't, again, like, she's sitting here like, you must be asleep for the past 10 years. It's like, have you been asleep for the past 20, Rachel? Because this is the fucking script every time. This was the script with Iraq. Both times it was the script with Iraq. George Bush Sr. also did this. He called on the Kurds in particular to rise up against the Iraqi government. And then, the U.S., they said they did that. And they said, Kurdish military officers in the Iraqi army did that. And they asked to be allowed to use captured Iraqi weapons for their uprising. And George Bush Sr. said, fuck you, we're going to give those back to the people that we told you to rise up against. And a whole bunch of them got killed as a result. Like, this is the fucking script. This isn't something new that he came up with. You say stilted, yes, because he's reading from a fucking script. It's the same script we've seen. I mean, it was Iraq, it was Afghanistan. There have been versions of it for Venezuela as well. Like, are you new?
At his instruction. And maybe they will. Maybe they will try.
I mean, it actually kind of looks like they're mostly pissed off about the U.S. bombing them. I mean, one of the wildest things I've seen this week, which is saying something, was I follow a bunch of like German media just to kind of keep an eye on them, and one of them is there's this magazine called Der Stern, which is sort of middlebrow news and commentary. And after Khamenei got killed in that strike, along with his 14-month-old granddaughter, who was, they said he was hated by the first line was, his people wished death upon him. And it's like, really, Dashdown? His whole people? All of them? Like, it is not, you do not, it is by no means necessary in order to have a critical or hostile view of a figure to falsely claim that everybody hates them. Like, yeah, there are a lot of people, there seemed to be a fair number of people who weren't great fans of at least some of what he was doing. Seemed to have been, judging from the size of some of the protests, there have been people who've been quite pissed off about stuff he's done. But to say that his entire people wished him dead, like, if your entire people wish you dead, then you're gonna be dead. Because his entire people, that includes, like, the whole fucking armed forces and the police as well. Like, I mean, we have to actually be kind of realistic about this. And, I mean, a little bit of realism doesn't hurt when we're talking about life and death matters, after all. And it actually seems like he also has quite a lot of popular support. At the very least, yeah, a lot of people were extremely pissed off that the U.S. murdered him.
Iran is a huge, complex country. It is 92 million people. That is more than triple the population of Iraq or Afghanistan when we started our disastrous regime change wars in those two countries.
Yeah, and both of those countries were defenseless, which is how the U.S. was able to invade them in the first place. Wait, okay, that's weird. Why is Oman... Okay, this is a weird fucking map. So, we get this sort of, like, solid desert color on... with no clouds or anything, on Turkey, Syria, Jordan, Iraq. Let me see. My chat widget is on the way. Israel, Lebanon, and Saudi Arabia and Yemen. But then for some reason Oman has weather. Like, why? And Qatar has weather. Like, the Gulf dictatorships all have weather. But none of the other places on this map... I mean, I don't understand this. Weird map choices.
Iran has considerable regular military forces, but it also has a huge Revolutionary Guard force, which has effectively its own army, its own navy, its own intelligence service, its own special forces. It also plays a huge role in the massive, suffocating, brutal domestic security services that are happy to terrorize the Iranian people in the...
I mean, see, it's really interesting that you only ever hear somebody, like Rachel Maddow, talk about domestic security services in these terms when it's a U.S. official enemy. I mean, you could say the exact same things about the fucking domestic security services here. The cops, ICE, the feds, the National Guard, etc. I mean, they're also suffocating and violent and terroristic. But you get nuance there.
Best of times, and to massacre the Iranian people in the worst of times, which they have done in the last 8 weeks. The
Okay, so...
Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has massive economic interests. They have a huge hold on multiple sectors of the Iranian economy.
I mean, speaking of the Iranian economy, Rachel, you want to mention how the U.S. has been strangling the Iranian economy for over a decade now?
And to state the obvious, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is not the kind of force that's going to go poof if a Donald Trump airstrike manages to kill Iran's supreme leader.
Okay, I'm skipping ahead because she has a more ridiculous take than this coming up. I haven't seen her do it, I've seen it summarized.
Except she'll take calls from Marco Rubio. Right, what will happen then? If you voted for Donald Trump, or again, good morning, I hope you slept well. But the president in this case says explicitly that this is a war we are waging for regime change. And the existing leader, Khamenei, who has been in place...
Yeah, not Khamenei. Khamenei, for fuck's sake. Like, seriously. I know they're two very similar names. I stumbled on it myself. But Khamenei, they are two different guys, actually.
And say, okay, it's done. We've made that change.
That seems almost certainly
to be...
to be...
really did want the Iranian people themselves to rise up in some kind of popular uprising and totally change their form of government. If you wanted the belief...
I mean, that it's worth remembering that the Iranian people taking over their government is how we got the Islamic Republic in the first place. Because they were sick of the U.S. puppet regime there.
And oppressed Iranian people to organize very quickly into a new populist political force to rise up against, among other things, the security services there that have been massacring them by the thousands this month and last. If you wanted that to happen, you probably could have taken some steps to help that happening.
Except it's actually kind of seeming like maybe not. And also, like, I mean, hearing her talk about, like, people getting massacred is a bit much. Like, I don't remember her ever using that sort of language to talk about, say, Gaza, for example. Just, I don't know, you know, since we're supposed to just kind of forget that that genocide's still going on. And, in fact, is being escalated under the cover of the aggression against Iran.
To make sure they can organize and can communicate.
I mean, apparently a huge number of Starlink satellite kits were imported into the country in a very short order. In fact, apparently a Dutch diplomat got caught trying to import some of them into Iran just recently.
Right? Maybe you would have turned the internet back on. And when you, Donald Trump, in your baseball hat,
thank you,
claimed
Louisa
on that
Ruth.
taped message today that the Iranian police...
It's always lovely to see all of you in chat.
...and the security forces and the revolution...
Okay, I'm skipping again because she claims that this is the Gulf states doing, that the U.S. is just doing this because the Gulf dictatorships want this, which is the wildest take imaginable. But I have to actually fucking find it.
...and lay down their weapons. Some path to do that, which Trump did not in Iraq, each other, and Trump complete the job for him. It is worth knowing that there has been no serious or even unserious effort by the United States to make it possible, let alone plausible, for any uprising by the Iranian people to as benefit the United Arab Emirates and Qatar.
Oh, here we go.
Off the map and for their own. Who benefits? Who? It's always useful to start that question in any country. Who benefits? Who wants Iran?
Okay, and let me just cut her off right there. Because, yeah, who benefits is definitely a useful question, but it's also a question you gotta be careful with. Because no matter what's going on, somebody's probably benefiting. In fact, that's kind of the nature of capitalism, that no matter what terrible thing happened, somebody probably made a whole shitload of money off of it. Like, you remember there was, like, catastrophic flooding in the U.S.'s breadbasket in the, like, the Dakotas and the Great Plains and everything like that. Absolute fucking disaster. And I guarantee you, the owners of competing farmland, competing agribusiness concerns, they've made a fucking mint off of that. There's always somebody benefiting. That does not mean that the person benefiting actually caused the thing. And that's why you have to be kind of careful. But okay, so she says, so who benefits? Let's hear it. I mean, it seems like Israel, the wild thing about this is Israel thinks they benefit from this. But that's because Israel's like fucking off their heads. They're fucking off their nuts if they think they're benefiting from this. Because they begged for a ceasefire the last time. Iran did not come asking the U.S. and Israel for a ceasefire. They didn't even engage in negotiations. Israel begged for it to end because they were getting fucking pounded and they didn't expect that.
Bombed off the map and for their own reasons. Who are Iran's rivals and
I wonder if the U.S. might be one of those.
Enemies.
Or Israel. Are we going to get those mentions?
Perennially, it's the Gulf Arab states.
Wait, okay, so not Israel, not the U.S.? That's interesting.
Countries like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, actually, Saudi Arabia specifically is a weird choice, because Saudi Arabia and Iran, yeah, historically were on very bad terms. China has brokered a rapprochement between them in the past decade or so, which is part of why Saudi Arabia is no longer trying to take over Yemen, which is why, you know, why Ansar Allah is able to just kind of govern there, and the government in exile, I mean, the U.S. kind of pretends that they're an actual government, but nobody else really takes any notice of them. So Saudi Arabia isn't a great example.
And United Arab Emirates and Qatar.
I mean, the Emirates are specifically not benefiting from this. They're, like, Dubai has gone from being a playground for, like, rich fucking feckless assholes and influencers who want to cosplay as rich feckless assholes to being a place where everybody's trying to get the fuck out, because the U.S., in addition to having these bases that nobody wants there, they've decided to protect their soldiers by hiding them amongst civilians in hotels. And since the OPSEC, I mean, as it always is with, like, J.D. Vance and fucking Hegseth, the OPSEC is so fucking clean that Iran has actually managed to figure out which of the hotels they're staying in and has been very precisely targeting them. I mean, these are not, I mean, I've seen footage of them. These are not at all, like, just taking down towers like the U.S. and Israel do. Like, what, like, actually, like, blowing out one single room, for example.
You know, Qatar.
Yeah, Qatar isn't benefiting from this. Like, this is wild.
That just gave Donald Trump a really, really nice $400 million plane. Really a gilded flying palace.
Like, she's listed the countries that are most likely to be the targets. I mean, she's speaking when this was just getting started. But it was obvious that these countries were going to be fucking targets because they have U.S. bases. And Iran said at the end of the last U.S.-Israeli aggression against them, he said, "In the next time, if you try it on again, we're going to close the Strait of Hormuz." They did that. We're going to attack. There will be no red lines. This is not going to be a limited operation in response. We will target all U.S. assets in the region. All U.S. bases will be fair game. And that's exactly what they've been doing. And that's all the Gulf dictatorships, actually. Like, so... in what way are they benefiting? Like, Qatar has had to shut down their entire liquid natural gas production line. They say it'll take months to get it up and running again. And I just can't help thinking, imagine if they had done that. Imagine if they and the other Gulf dictatorships that control so much oil and so much oil production had just shut their shit down in October 2023, right after Israel announced that they were going to be doing a genocide, and the U.S. announced that they were going to be helping them. That we wouldn't be here now. Like, I mean, in so many ways, we would not be here right now. I don't think Trump would be president if they'd done that. Because the genocide would have come to a fucking screeching halt. But, so, like, the idea that it's the Gulf dictator, like, it couldn't possibly be the U.S. It couldn't possibly be Israel. No, those are my favorite guys. Those are my emotional support apartheids. So they can't possibly be the ones to benefit from this. So it's got to be those Gulf states, because they're getting like all those missile strikes that they wanted. And Bahrain, there's like an uprising in Bahrain because if you listen actually to the footage of these strikes coming in the Gulf dictatorships, this is mobile phone footage. The locals are fucking cheering because they hate those bases. And in Bahrain, people took to the streets to protest the assassination of Khamenei and to protest the fucking bases because they hate those fucking bases, always have. And they ended up in pitched battles with the cops there over that. So, yeah, I'm not feeling this idea that it's the Gulf states that are doing so well off of this. I mean, there's every chance that Bahrain might actually end up experiencing regime change before Iran does. Or instead of Iran, really. But it is time to wrap up. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. And let me just tell you about a project I'm working on before we go. It is my current crowdfunded translation project, which, where the hell are the links? That is, yeah, here we go. It's the Punto Final project. I'm going to drop a link where you can see all of the translations I've done in this project so far. Right now, for the current article, which deals with dodgy financial dealings of the Christian Democratic Party, linked as well to a guy who, in 1998, when he died, became the eternal vice president of FIFA, that bastion of probity, Juan Goni. I'm trying to raise $450, of which I have raised 90 so far. I'm going to drop a link here in chat. And donations and signal boosting for that project are always much appreciated. I have the hardest time breaking through the algorithmic bubble to expose people who would be interested in this project who haven't already heard of it because I've personally told them about it. So, like, signal boosting that would be much appreciated, as much as actually as directly fundraising as well. So I just wanted to tell you about that, and that Patreon link is where you can read those translations. And with that, have a good night. I will be back at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time.